If you can explain to the viewer in more detail about the existing market economy and the development of democracy, what does the liberalization of world markets mean as a precondition for a new economic formation and a new political system? Direct democracy is the next stage in the development of democracy.
The main point of direct democracy, how it can be achieved, lies in one of the fundamental directions of our program, management informatization. If there is not for today's technological progress, in particular, digital electronic information and communication technologies had not been developed at this level as it is today, the establishment of direct democracy, first of all in the legislative sphere, would be impossible, the creation of a public parliament would be impossible. Today there are such databases in various fields that the creation of a public parliament is not very difficult. It is an ordinary virtual parliament in which all authorized citizens participate. One big site can be made in every country and globally too, where there will be common issues to be discussed, where there will be consultations on these issues, and where there will be a voting system, usually on any issue. It means reforming the legislative system. It is establishing direct democracy in the legislative sphere. It is done through the informatization of governance, and all this would be impossible without the existing information technologies. This is easy to do. There will be no need to elect parliaments. There will be no need to grant some monopoly rights to MPs with a 4-year term. These cannot be caused. The society governs itself and any person can come up with a legislative initiative. If it is supported by the society, it will be normally supported, and there will be no restriction that any privileged class should have the right of legislative initiative or should collect 40,000 signatures to be given the right of legislative initiative. That is, all this must happen on the internet, and it will be a free political zone in the legislative sphere. It is also possible and necessary that the judiciary can and should be demonopolized. Even now, for example, there are jury trials where people from the community punish criminals, and also they make decisions. The functions of the court may be transferred to the private sector in addition to the Supreme Court. The Supreme Judicial Society will be based on the advice of consulting companies operating in the field of law. We cannot discuss the ways how could this happen, because the time format does not allow us to do so. The executive function of the public state must also be democratized, its informatization must be done, and the digital bases of the executive system with their management inspectors must be created. I spoke in response to the previous question that the executive system should be demonopolized. What is the demonopolization of law enforcement? This means that the state should also give a monopoly on the rule of law to the society, and in this case, it is a direct democracy in the executive sector. And this democracy is already much more progressive, and this sector shows the way of democracy in the 21st century and the third millennium. These are the 4 directions the world is heading for today: market freedom and direct democracy, informatization of governance and economics, and national freedom. The transition of the financial system to digital technologies, which has been partially implemented, needs to be further strengthened. Digital technologies should be involved in the economy as much as possible. It saves all material resources, it saves time, it becomes more profitable, and so on. But many people are skeptical of this out of old awareness that in some religious treatises it is so written and so on. I can briefly talk about this too, that there are pros and cons to both wings that are at odds with the world today. The main thing is not to be overwhelmed by the negative side. If world development will go through violence in the future, an international dictatorship or the so-called apocalyptic World War III is much more real, and if things would be done according to our program, it will be a victory for the positive forces that I talked about in answer to the previous questions.